We were 5 years in, 8 months engaged, and 3 months away from the wedding when he looked me dead in the eye and said, "I'm not sure you're wife material." I laughed at first. I thought it was sarcasm. Tyler had this dry, deadpan delivery, and sometimes it was hard to tell when he was joking. But he wasn't smiling. And later that night, at a bar surrounded by his friends and mine, he followed it up with something worse. "If she were hotter, I'd probably be more excited about the wedding." He laughed when he said it. Like it was funny. Like I was supposed to just laugh along. And the thing is, I almost did. For half a second I smiled. Because I was too stunned to do anything else. My brain didn't even register it as real yet. But then I saw Jordan's face, Tyler's coworker. The way he flinched, the way he immediately looked at me with this quiet, horrified apology in his eyes. That's when I knew. Tyler meant it. He meant every word. It's weird how the big breakdowns always start with small things. We met at a friend's bonfire. I was in a flannel shirt and old jeans toasting marshmallows. He was sitting alone, nursing a beer, looking like someone who hated small talk. I liked that about him. He wasn't flashy. He didn't try to impress. He just was. We clicked that night over a mutual hatred of cilantro and a shared love of 90s cartoons. We started dating soon after. 1 year and we moved in together. Year 3 we adopted a fat gray cat named Tofu. Year 4 he took me to my favorite hiking trail and proposed at the top, nervously fumbling the ring like he thought I'd say no. Of course I said yes. The plan was to get married this October. Small wedding, woodsy venue, backyard barbecue vibes. I'd been the one doing most of the planning, which I didn't mind. Tyler wasn't a details guy. He was a sure whatever you think is best kind of guy. Or at least he used to be. Started about 3 months ago. At first it was little things. Him shrugging off my texts about photographers or brushing off cake tastings. I'd send him 3 venue options and he'd respond 6 hours later with, "Looks fine." I figured it was just wedding stress. Every couple goes through it, right? Then came the after-work beers with Zach. Zach worked with Tyler in the construction company he'd been with since college. He was new, loud, crass, and always had something sexist to say at the Christmas party. I never liked him. But Tyler insisted he was actually cool once you get to know him. Spoiler, he wasn't. Tyler started spending more and more time with him. Grabbing beers after work. Watching football. Staying out later than usual. I didn't question it at first. He deserved downtime. But slowly he started changing. He stopped making eye contact during conversations. He got snippy when I asked about wedding stuff. And on the rare occasions we did talk, it felt like I was annoying him just by existing. Lena, my best friend, noticed first. "You sure everything's okay with him?" she asked one night while we were wandering through Target. "He's been weird lately." I shrugged and tossed shampoo into the cart. "He's just stressed." That's what I kept telling myself. Over and over. He's just stressed. He's tired. It's wedding pressure. It's work. But then came last Friday. I planned the date night because Lena suggested it. "You need to reconnect," she'd said. "Maybe remind him why he proposed in the first place." So I booked a reservation at his favorite Italian place downtown. I wore a navy wrap dress I hadn't worn since our anniversary last year. Did my hair. Even bought the beer he likes to have waiting in the fridge for after. He barely looked at me all night. The food was good. The waiter was funny. The vibe should have been perfect. But Tyler sat there like he wanted to be anywhere else. Checking his phone. Not laughing at my jokes. Sighing whenever I brought up wedding stuff. I tried one last thing. Mentioning our honeymoon plans. That's when he dropped it. "I don't know if I'm ready for all this." Just like that. While I was halfway through a glass of wine. "The wedding?" I asked. "Or the honeymoon?" "Any of it," he muttered. "Marriage. Everything." My stomach dropped. I felt like I'd just been hit in the chest with a bowling ball. It wasn't just the words. It was the way he said them. Like they'd been sitting on the tip of his tongue for weeks, maybe months. I held it together. Barely. I didn't cry in the restaurant. Didn't scream. I nodded, paid for my half of dinner and walked to the car in silence. He didn't stop me. When we got home he slept on the couch. The next day was worse. I stayed in our bedroom with Tofu. Tyler left to watch the game with Zach and the guys at some sports bar called the Rusty Wrench or whatever. I didn't hear from him all day. Around 6 p.m. I got a text from Jordan. Tyler's coworker. The only one I liked. "Hey, just checking in. Are you okay?" We'd only spoken a few times before, at the company holiday party and a barbecue, but he was always kind. I replied, "Why?" He texted back, "Things got weird at the bar. Just wanted to make sure you're okay." I called him immediately. And that's when he told me how the guys had been teasing Tyler about getting tied down. How Zach said something about the wedding being a trap, and everyone laughed. How Tyler, drunk off whatever IPA trash they'd been downing, smirked and said, "If she were hotter I'd probably be more excited about the wedding." And then laughed. Like it was a punchline. Jordan said he and another coworker called him out on it. But Tyler just waved it off. Said they couldn't take a joke. A joke. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. I didn't cry. Not yet. I was too stunned. He called me a burden. He called me ugly. And he called it a joke. When I finally walked back into our apartment, Tyler was passed out on the couch, still in his jeans and boots. The apartment smelled like old fries and stale beer. Tofu blinked at me from the windowsill like even he knew something was wrong. I went to our bedroom, locked the door, and crawled under the covers fully dressed. And that's when I started crying. Not loud, dramatic sobs, just quiet, helpless tears that soaked my pillow while the sound of Tyler snoring carried through the door. That was the night I knew something was broken. But I had no idea how much worse it was going to get. Because the next morning, Tyler's mom called me, sobbing. When Diane called me the next morning, I thought someone had died. Her voice was soft, shaking. The kind of voice you use when you're delivering bad news, real bad news. And the only person who came to mind was Tyler. So naturally, my heart plummeted into my stomach, thinking he'd gotten into an accident or something. I sat up in bed so fast I gave myself whiplash. Is everything okay? I asked, already halfway out of bed. She paused. That kind of pause that feels like it lasts an entire year. Then she said, "No, sweetheart. I don't think it is." And she started crying. Let me rewind for a second. Tyler's mom and I were close. Like, she texts me memes and updates me on her succulents close. My relationship with my own mother is complicated. Think Florida. Think third marriage. Think the kind of woman who thinks therapy is for weak minds. Diane was the complete opposite. Grounded and thoughtful. One of those people who remembers your cat's name and your favorite salad dressing. So when she cried, I knew it wasn't over nothing. I asked if I should come over. She said no. She wanted to meet somewhere neutral. Somewhere public enough to keep things civil, in her words. That's when my stomach really turned. I asked her what this was about. She hesitated again. Then, I think it's time you know everything. About Tyler. About what's really going on. I didn't say anything to Tyler when I left. He was still asleep on the couch, mouth open, one sock halfway off like a kid who fell asleep during a sleepover. I watched him for a full 10 seconds trying to remember when exactly I stopped recognizing him. He used to be my person. Now he just looked like a stranger in my living room. I drove to the coffee shop in silence. No music. No podcast. Just the hum of my tires and the sound of my own heartbeat in my ears. I had no idea what Diane was going to say. But I knew it wasn't going to be good. 5 minutes before I pulled into the parking lot, my phone rang again. This time it was Jenna, Tyler's sister. Now Jenna and I? We were cool but not super close. She was the artsy, outspoken one who always looked like she was one viral tweet away from canceling someone. I liked her but she intimidated me. Hey, she said quickly, are you okay? I blinked. Why is everyone asking me that? She hesitated. Then she said, is this about Maria? Silence. Like the world just stopped spinning for a second. What about Maria? I asked and my voice cracked just slightly. The way Jenna froze, I could hear the panic in her breath. Oh my God. You don't know. Know what? He backtracked fast. I shouldn't have said anything. Just talk to Mom. She'll explain everything. Jenna. I'm serious. I promised I wouldn't say anything and I already messed that up. Just go meet her. Please. Then she hung up. Maria. I knew the name. Barely. She was new at Tyler's company. He'd mentioned her a few times in passing. Maria helped with the project timeline. Maria's from Ohio. Maria knows Excel formulas like a wizard. Nothing weird. Nothing that ever made me feel threatened. Till now. I pulled into the coffee shop parking lot and spotted Diane instantly. She was sitting in a corner booth near the window, no makeup, hair pulled back in a sloppy bun. She looked tired. I'd never seen her like that. She always showed up polished, put together. The Diane in front of me looked like she hadn't slept in days. When I slid into the booth, she smiled sadly and reached for my hand. I'm so sorry, she said. You didn't deserve any of this. Diane didn't waste time. Once we ordered coffee, mine black, hers with enough cream to pass as dessert, she dove right in. Tyler called me Sunday night, she said. He was a mess. Crying. Rambling. I haven't seen him like that since his dad left. I tensed at the mention of his dad. Tyler never talked about him. He told me he was scared, Diane continued. Scared he's becoming his father. That he doesn't know what he's doing. That he's already messed everything up. I just nodded. Let her keep talking. I didn't trust my voice yet. And then he said something that broke my heart, she said quietly. He told me he has feelings for someone else. There was the confirmation. The knife. The second it sliced in, I felt myself start to float, like I was outside my body watching from above. Maria? I asked. My voice didn't even sound like mine. Diane nodded. He swears nothing physical happened. That it was just emotional. That he didn't even realize it was happening until it was too late. I laughed. Not because it was funny but because it was so predictable. Of course it wasn't physical. Of course it was just emotional. That made it okay, right? Except it didn't. I knew something was off, I whispered. He's been distant for months. Diane looked gutted. She told me Tyler had been spiraling. That Zach had been in his ear constantly, talking about freedom and not settling, and living life before you're locked down. And Tyler had listened. Had internalized it. And in the process, apparently started emotionally bonding with a woman I'd only ever met once, at the company party in March. You were there, I said, trying to remember. You met her. I did, Diane said. And I liked her. But I had no idea until Sunday night that this was happening. She looked me in the eye then. Voice shaking but steady. I came today because I didn't want you left in the dark. Like I was when my husband started doing the same thing. I ignored the signs. I blamed myself. I won't let you do that. By the end of the conversation I felt like I'd been run over. Not by a truck. Not even by a car. Something worse. Something slow. A steamroller. I thanked Diane. Paid for both coffees. Then walked to my car and sat behind the wheel without starting it. Maria. Tyler. The bar. The joke. It all swirled together like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. Then my phone buzzed. A text. From Tyler. Whatever my mom tells you, please just remember that I love you. I just got scared. I know I messed up. I'm sorry. I stared at it. He didn't deny it. Didn't even try. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my notes app and typed one sentence. He had feelings for someone else while I was planning our wedding. Then I locked my phone, put it in my purse and drove home. That night I slept in my brother's spare room. With Tofu curled beside me. And a knot in my chest that felt like it would never loosen. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because of Tofu, he was perfectly curled up against my hip, purring like nothing was wrong with the world. But because I couldn't shut my brain off. Every time I closed my eyes I pictured her. Maria. I couldn't even remember what she looked like, which made it worse. She was just this vague, blurry silhouette in my head haunting me like a ghost. And every time my mind tried to build a face for her, it felt like I was giving the betrayal a shape. I kept hearing the same sentence over and over again. He was falling in love with someone else while I was shopping for our wedding dress. The next morning I called in sick to work. My boss sounded concerned, which only made me feel worse. I rarely call in. But there was no way I was going to sit at a front desk answering phones and smiling while my personal life was on fire. Lena came over around lunch. She brought bagels, 2 iced coffees, and a look on her face that told me she already knew everything. Your brother texted me, she said, dropping her purse by the couch. Don't be mad. I'm not, I mumbled. And I wasn't. Elliot was just being his overprotective self. Ever since we were kids he's been the human equivalent of a seatbelt. Tight, uncomfortable, but probably the only reason I haven't crashed yet. We sat in silence for a while watching a baking show we didn't care about. I picked at my bagel, Lena scrolled Instagram, and neither of us mentioned the fact that my fiancé had emotionally cheated on me. Until I finally did. She's not even the problem, I said out of nowhere. It's not about her. It's about him. He let it happen. Lena didn't say anything, just nodded. Then she asked, are you going to talk to him? I didn't know the answer. Later that afternoon I finally texted Diane. Thank you for telling me. I needed to hear it from someone who didn't want to protect him. She replied within seconds. I'm here for you no matter what you decide. I stared at that for a long time. The no matter what hit me harder than I expected. She wasn't just saying she'd support me if I forgave him. She was saying she'd support me if I left him. If I walked away from 5 years, a cat, an apartment, and an $8,000 venue deposit. Around 5 p.m. I finally got the courage to go back to the apartment. Tyler's truck was in the driveway. Of course it was. My heart started racing the second I saw it. My hands were shaking when I unlocked the front door. And when I stepped inside I had to take a deep breath to keep myself from snapping. He was sitting on the couch, surrounded by wedding binders. No joke, he had all our planning folders spread out like he was studying for a final exam. My color-coded taps. The florist estimates. Even the swatches I'd picked for bridesmaids' dresses were laid out on the coffee table. He looked up like a kid who got caught drawing on the walls. I took the day off, he said. I didn't respond. I thought if I could understand where I messed up. You messed up, I repeated. Not just one mistake. Not just a stupid joke. You let something grow behind my back. He swallowed hard. I didn't mean for it to happen. I don't care what you meant. I care about what you did. The conversation that followed was long. And brutal. And ugly in the quietest way. He didn't cry. I didn't scream. There were no dramatic ultimatums or slammed doors. Just two people trying to find their way through the mess they'd made. He told me it started slowly. Texting Maria about work. Then texting her about non-work things. Then laughing at memes. Then talking about life. She was just easy to talk to, he said. I didn't realize how deep it had gotten until I couldn't stop thinking about her. Every word felt like sandpaper. I asked if he loved her. He said no. I asked if anything physical had happened. He swore it hadn't. That it was just emotional. I asked if he loved me. He said yes. Then he said the most painful thing of all. But I don't know if we're right for each other anymore. You know that feeling when your stomach drops? Like literally drops as if it's free falling? That was it. That was the moment. I stood there, completely still, like my body hadn't caught up with what my ears just heard. He tried to explain. Said we'd both changed. Said we weren't the same people who met at that bonfire 5 years ago. Said I'd become more serious, and he missed how carefree things used to be. Of course I'm more serious, I snapped. I'm planning a wedding. I'm trying to build a life. Sorry, I'm not giggling over ramen noodles anymore. He didn't respond. Because he knew I was right. I left the apartment that night with my toothbrush, 3 outfits, tofu, and absolutely no idea what the hell was happening to my life. Lena cleared out a drawer for me at her place. I have wine, chocolate, and a murder doc we can hate watch, she said. Or we can sit in total silence. Dealer's choice. I chose silence. Until my phone buzzed around 9 p.m. It was an unknown number. Maria. Hi, this is Maria. I heard about everything. I swear I didn't know he had feelings. If you want to talk, I'd like to explain. Just us. No drama. I stared at the message for a long time. I didn't know what to feel. Rage, curiosity, validation, all of it. So I responded, tomorrow. 10 a.m. Birch Cafe. Don't bring anyone. And that's how I ended up staring across the table at her the next morning. Maria. The girl from work. Maria was not what I expected. She wasn't this overly polished, flirty type I'd built up in my head. She showed up to Birch Cafe wearing leggings, sneakers, and a faded hoodie with a local animal shelter logo on the sleeve. Her dark hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and when she looked up from her coffee, she looked nervous. Genuinely nervous. Not like someone who'd stolen my fiancé. More like someone who wasn't even sure why she was here. Thanks for meeting me, she said. I nodded, arms crossed. You said you had something to explain. She took a deep breath. And then she blew my whole theory out of the water. According to Maria, she had no idea Tyler had developed feelings for her. They'd worked closely on a project for months. Late nights, coffee runs, the usual. He thought they were friends. Friendly, sure. She admitted they texted outside of work sometimes, shared memes, even joked about Zach being unbearable. But nothing she thought crossed a line. She even had a boyfriend. Had, past tense. He broke up with me 2 weeks ago, she said. Said I wasn't emotionally available. I guess Tyler wasn't the only one catching feelings without realizing it. Then she pulled out her phone and showed me the texts between her and Tyler. Pages and pages of them. Work updates, yes. But also random check-ins. Inside jokes. Long threads about personal stuff. His fear of marriage, feeling overwhelmed, wondering if he was cut out for real relationships. I wasn't mentioned once. Not even when I knew based on the timeline that I should have been. I stared at the screen and realized it wasn't about cheating. It was about erasure. He'd built a whole emotional outlet around someone else while pretending like I wasn't even part of the equation. But then came the second bomb. It wasn't just Tyler. It was Zach. Maria leaned in, voice low, like she was scared someone might be recording us. I overheard Zach last week, she said. He was joking to some of the guys about how Tyler should try things out before he gets locked in. He literally said, Maria gets him better than his fiancé ever did. I blinked. What? Apparently Zach's been pushing him to test the waters for months. He was egging it on. Of course he was. Tyler didn't have the courage to cheat. He had the cowardice to let someone else plant the idea and then act like it just happened. By the end of the meeting, I didn't hate Maria. I pitied her. She was collateral damage. Just like me. I called Jenna right after. I want a family dinner, I told her. Everyone. Your mom. Tyler. And Zach. She didn't even hesitate. My apartment. Tomorrow night. I'll handle the food. The table was set with takeout containers, wine glasses, and tension so thick it could have been sliced and served alongside the pasta. Diane arrived first. She gave me a long hug and whispered, You don't have to be nice tonight. Say what you need to say. Then Zach walked in. He smirked like it was a barbecue. I wanted to launch the breadsticks at his face. Finally, Tyler showed up, eyes sunken, stubble on his jaw, wearing a hoodie that was definitely not his. Probably Jenna's ex-boyfriend's if I had to guess. He looked like someone who'd slept on a couch and cried into a pizza box. I didn't care. The first 20 minutes were awkward small talk. Weather. Jenna's new coffee table. The cat scratching up Diane's curtains. I sat there quietly, swirling wine in my glass, waiting for someone to blink first. And then Diane did. We're not here for small talk, she said. We're here because my son nearly blew up his entire life and doesn't seem to realize how badly he hurt the person who loved him. The silence that followed was volcanic. Zach snorted. Look, I think this is being blown out of proportion. Jenna cut him off like she'd been waiting for it. Don't even try that. You're not innocent here. Zach leaned back in his chair, raising an eyebrow. I didn't tell him to cheat. No, I said. You just encouraged him to act like his relationship was a prison and that I was the warden. That shut him up. Then I turned to Tyler. I met with Maria, I said, flat and cold. His face froze. Then flushed. She told me everything, I continued. She had no idea you caught feelings. You never even told her you were engaged. You erased me from your life so you could pretend you weren't betraying anyone. He opened his mouth, but I wasn't done. And then when your friends asked why you weren't excited to marry me, you joked about my appearance. Like that was the reason. He looked ashamed. Good. It wasn't about her, I said. It was never about her. It was about you. You wanted out, but you didn't have the guts to say it. So you made me the villain in a story you wrote behind my back. He finally spoke. I was scared. You think I wasn't? I snapped. You think planning a wedding while working full-time and juggling bills and trying to keep us afloat wasn't terrifying? The difference is, I showed up anyway. I stayed. I committed. Zach rolled his eyes. I'm sorry, he muttered. But this is just girl drama. Jenna stood so fast her chair scraped across the floor. Get out. Zach blinked. What? I said get out, she repeated. This isn't your drama. This is your mess. And we're done pretending otherwise. For once, Zach didn't argue. He stood, muttered something about needing a smoke and left. Good riddance. After he was gone, Tyler finally admitted the full truth. He wasn't sure he ever wanted to get married. He thought he did. But the closer the wedding got, the more he panicked. And instead of talking to me, his fiancée, the woman he shared a bed and a life with, he talked to Zach, Maria, and his mom. Anyone but me. I didn't mean to fall out of sync with you, he said quietly. You didn't fall, I replied. You jumped. By the end of the night, I made my decision. I stood up from the table, grabbed my bag and said, there's not going to be a wedding. Silence. I won't marry someone who needed a round-table discussion to figure out if he wants me. Diane teared up but nodded. Jenna reached for my hand under the table. Tyler looked like he wanted to fight it but didn't. Because he knew. It was already over. I walked out with pasta in a takeout container and the weirdest sense of calm I've ever felt. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I was finally free from pretending it didn't. The night after the dinner, I slept on Lena's pull-out couch with tofu curled against my chest and a takeout container of cold spaghetti still sitting on the nightstand. I didn't cry. Not right away. I think my body had run out of emotions like a faucet twisted off at the valve. Everything was just still. The wedding was officially off. 5 years gone. 3 months of planning canceled. A future deleted. All that was left was me. And a list. I made the list on my notes app at 2:12 a.m. Cancel the venue. Call the florist. Return the dress. Return his ring. Figure out the lease. Call mom, ugh. Unpin the mood board. Block Tyler just for a bit. I stared at it for a long time. It looked so normal. Like a grocery list. Like something manageable. But every bullet was another piece of me I had to untangle from a life we'd built together. The next morning I woke up before Lena for once. I quietly made coffee, fed tofu and started calling vendors. The venue kept the deposit. $8,000 just gone. I expected the woman on the phone to sound annoyed, but instead she just sighed and said, I'm so sorry, honey. Happens more than you think. The florist refunded half. The caterer charged a cancellation fee. The photographer offered to transfer the deposit to another event when I'm ready, which felt way too optimistic, but I appreciated the thought. The wedding dress was non-refundable. Hanging in Lena's coat closet like a ghost. I didn't even try it on one last time. I went back to my apartment the next day to start packing Tyler's things. He wasn't there. He'd texted earlier saying he'd stay at his cousin's for the week. I was glad. Walking into that apartment felt like walking into a museum of our relationship. The smell of his shampoo still in the bathroom. The just because notes I used to leave in his lunch bag now shoved into a drawer. The playlist still open on the TV screen with our reception dance songs. I stared at the list of songs for a long time. Then I deleted the whole thing. Elliot helped me pack his stuff. We labeled everything in boxes: kitchen, bedroom, random crap, Tyler's junk I want burned but won't. He didn't ask questions. Just loaded things into the living room and kept passing me packing tape while making deadpan commentary like, we should invoice him for the emotional labor. I almost smiled. Almost. The next day I changed my relationship status on social media. I didn't post a breakup announcement. I didn't write a cryptic new chapter begins caption. I just clicked edit profile, hit single, and closed the app. 5 minutes later I got a DM from a girl I hadn't talked to since high school. OMG, what happened? Walked. Then another from Tyler's cousin. You okay? Left on read. Then a third from Tyler himself. Do you want to meet and talk? About the apartment and the cat and other stuff. I stared at that one for a long time. Then I typed, we can meet. Tomorrow. Neutral ground. 30 minutes max. We met at a coffee shop 2 blocks from the apartment. He looked tired. Pale. Older. The way people do when they've been carrying guilt around like a backpack full of bricks. I didn't hug him. Didn't smile. Just sat down, arms crossed, and waited. We talked through logistics. He'd take the couch. I'd keep the cat. We'd split the deposit loss. We'd close our shared account. He asked if I wanted the air fryer. I said no. Every item felt like a weird little heartbreak. When we got through the list, he hesitated. Then he pulled out a notebook. I've been journaling, he said. With my therapist. I blinked. You're in therapy? He nodded. Started last week. After everything. I needed to understand why I kept sabotaging my life. I didn't know what to say. He wasn't telling me to fix anything. Wasn't asking to get back together. He just wanted me to know. Maybe that was progress. Too little too late. But still. Before I left, he asked, do you think we'll ever talk again? I said, I don't know. And I meant it. Back at Lena's, I collapsed on the couch and scrolled through Zillow listings for 1-bedroom apartments like it was Tinder. Ugly kitchen. Swiped left. Weird carpet. Swiped left. No pets allowed. Walked. Reported. Excommunicated. Eventually I found a place. Small. Older building. A balcony that looked out over a parking lot. But it had charm, hardwood floors, a clawfoot tub, and just enough space to start over. I signed the lease 2 weeks later. Moving day was quiet. Jenna showed up with coffee and a toolbox. Diane brought housewarming muffins. Elliot and Lena helped move boxes while Tofu meowed from his carrier like he was being abducted by aliens. Once they left, I sat on my new floor surrounded by boxes and cried for the first time in weeks. Not because I missed Tyler. But because I didn't know who I was without him. That night I unpacked the kitchen. Opened the windows. Put on a playlist that had nothing to do with the wedding. And for the first time in forever I felt a sliver of something like peace. Not happiness. Not yet. But peace. Over the next month I started to build a routine. Saturdays became hike days again. Something I stopped doing when Tyler complained about early wake-ups on weekends. I started journaling. Bought an herb plant that I promptly killed. Bought another one. Killed that too. Mint, by the way, is indestructible. Basil absolutely hates me. I went back to work and my coworkers pretended not to notice the lack of a ring. I appreciated that. I deleted the wedding countdown app. Unpinned every Pinterest board labeled Mrs. and reception inspo. Blocked Zach on everything. Tyler stayed quiet. Except for one message. A single text. I hope you're okay. I'm working on it. I really am. I didn't respond. Then came the weirdest part of all. Maria texted me. This time it wasn't a guilt message. It was a heads up. Apparently she transferred departments. Asked to be reassigned. And her no-ex-boyfriend had started dating someone in HR. Honestly, she wrote, the whole office is a soap opera. We exchanged a few texts. Civil. Cordial. Then I wished her well and muted the thread. I didn't want to be friends. But I didn't hate her. She was just another person who got pulled into the orbit of Tyler's confusion. Like me. Lena suggested I take the honeymoon anyway. Why waste it, she said. Go be sad somewhere scenic. So I did. 10 days in a cottage by the coast. Alone. I brought paperbacks. A brand new swimsuit. Noise-canceling headphones and a ridiculous sun hat. I walked on the beach in the mornings. Took naps in the afternoons. Ate dinner on the deck with Tofu curled at my feet and seagulls screaming overhead like the most dramatic support group in the sky. And every night I journaled. Not about Tyler. But about me. Who I was before him. Who I am without him. And who I want to become next. The last night of the trip I watched the sunset from a cliff. Just me and the wind and the sound of waves crashing like applause. And I said out loud, I deserved better. It felt silly at first. Then it felt like truth. And then I said it again. When I came back to my apartment, everything smelled like lavender and mint. Jenna had left a houseplant on my kitchen counter with a sticky note that said, new beginnings require dirt. Water it. Classic Jenna. Tyler and I haven't spoken since. And honestly, that's okay. I still get updates through the grapevine. Diane texts me memes once a week. Jenna and I meet for brunch. Sometimes I hear his name and I flinch a little. But that flinch is softer now. Less pain. More memory. A few nights ago, I passed our old wedding venue while driving to get ice cream with Lena. The lights were twinkling. Cars in the lot. A wedding in full swing. And for a second I thought I'd feel sad. But instead I felt full. Like my life wasn't behind me. Like I didn't miss out. Like I dodged something that would have slowly eaten me alive. I rolled down the window. Laughed. And turned up the radio. Because the truth is, sometimes the most beautiful beginning comes after the hardest goodbye.